Okay. Today we're going to learn Daf Yomi. It's right on the top of the page, Yomi. First word on the page, Yomi, 84. Hey, thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. We're learning, we should have basic English immediately. Okay, we learned in the Mishnah that if a woman takes a vow that she's not going to have benefit from anyone in the world, any creations. So the husband cannot annul that vow. That's what we learned in the Mishnah. We said it was the opinion of Rabbi Yossi that's a little bit more strict about what's considered nefesh. Then we had to figure out why is that not inei nefesh? Why is that not inei nefesh? So the question is she including the husband? Maybe she means everyone but the husband. And so the language wasn't question when she says that I'm not going to have benefit from anyone in the world. She's excluding her husband, and she's having benefit only from her husband. Now there's no inei nefesh there. There's no affliction. So there was a machlekes here. What the pshat was in the Mishnah. There was Ula, Rava, and Rav Nachman. Ula said that the husband was not included in that vow. Rava says that the husband is included in that vow. So how does she survive? Why is not inei nefesh? According to Rava, she can take from like a shikha and payah.
Whoa. First time.
She can take a leket shikha and payah. We're talking about, we said that it was already collected already. That's why. And Nachman's view was that the husband is not included in the vow. Okay. Now, Esvei Rav Rav Nachman, that's where we start. Rabbi has a question for Rav Nachman, right on top of the page. Say, Baal, Lav, Bichlal, Briyesu, the husband is not included in the creation. The husband's not included in the creations. We have a problem with this. If you say that when she takes a vow that I'm not going to have benefits from any creations, she's not including her husband. So we have a contradiction because we have a Mishnah somewhere else. You see this? What's going on? I'm sorry? No, you're taking off when I'm going. I don't know if it's a second one or if it's they brought the one
for us. They're like, you guys deserve it. No, they said to us we deserve it. This and this. So thank you. You're sure boss.
Is it the one from downstairs?
Let's try to party.
Okay, so we have a contradiction to this that the husband should not be included in the vow because it says, but now we have a Mishnah, Netulan ani mina Yehudim. If she says that I am separated from Jews, separated from Jews could have two meanings. Could mean she's not going to have any benefit from any Jews, or in general, or it doesn't mean that she's not going to have relations with any Jews. Well, whatever the case is, Netulan ani mina Yehudim. I'm separated from all Jews. So Yafre Chelkai. He annuls the part of that vow that affected him, and she can serve him. But she's still separated from all other Jews. Remember, we were learning that when it comes to a vow that's between them, so then he can annul just his part, and we don't say the whole vow was annulled. So you can annul a partial part of the partial vow in this case. Here she is separated from all Jews. She doesn't want to give benefit to anyone else. She's not giving benefit to anyone else.
Good morning, too.
I don't want to get benefit. She doesn't know. Well, at least according to the commentary here. Netula Nimina Yehudim would mean, according to this commentary, means that she's not going to get benefit from anyone. We would have to say that because otherwise she can't annul. She can't take a vow to forbid her relations on her husband. So that you won't even need to annul them. So how did we asked that question before once, right? How could she say this? And we explained that she's saying on herself. She's not getting benefit from them. That's what she said. She doesn't want to get benefit from them. Okay. The problem is, okay, she's still forbidden to everyone else. And if you say that the husband is not part of the creation, it's not the rest of the creation, whenever she takes a vow from everyone in the world, she's not including her husband. According to Rav Nachman, if that's the case, then Nidri ine nefeshin v'yafala, does he really have to annul it? His part was never even, the vow never included him. So why would he even have to annul it? It must be, Rav is telling Rav Nachman that when she takes a vow that she's not going to have benefit from the whole world, she's including the husband. And that's why the husband has to annul his part. Because if it would be excluding the husband, then what do you mean the husband annuls his part? He was never involved. Okay.
Wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, but and he won't be able to annul the rest, that's for sure. But he can't annul the rest anyway. But why does he even have to annul his part if she had excluded him, she had precluded him, right? Well, I told you the pshat according to the Ran, according to one pshat in the Ran. The Ran gives a second pshat. Says like this. If the husband, I guess there's one machine.
This is our own.
We thought they had given a separate machine. If when she takes a vow that she's not going to have benefit from the whole world. So if we would say that the husband is not included in that vow, that was her intent. Intention was everyone else but the husband. Then obviously she's not referring to relations if she's excluding the husband. Because what she's saying, I'm not going to have relations with anyone else in the world. She was never allowed to have relations with anyone in the world because she's married to this man, to her husband. So it can't be that it's referring to that. It must be when she says I'm separated from the whole world. It must be that she's referring to having fruits from the whole world, from getting other types of benefit from the whole world, which she was permitted. See, a vow would only be prohibiting something that was permitted. It won't be prohibiting something that's already prohibited. What does she need a vow for that? So it must be that the translation here would be, if you say that the husband is not included in this, it must mean that we're talking about that she took a vow that she won't give, that she won't have benefit from the fruits of the whole world, any sort of benefit from the world. So if that's the case,
Couldn't she be saying she would never have relationships with anybody, even after her husband? And that way he might have reason to want to annul it so that she can be married.
Yeah.
If he dismisses her.
well, theoretically, that could be the pshat. But the Gemara here is assuming that we don't know what she means. There's two possibilities. If it's including the husband, then maybe it's referring to relations.
Talking about now.
If
There's
it's
a husband now.
right, if it's not, if when she says I don't want to have benefit from anyone in the world, if it's not including the husband, then obviously it's not talking about relations, even though theoretically it could be talking about. But we're just trying to translate what she means. She probably means that she's not going to have benefit, any other sort of benefit. She's not going to have fruits from anyone in the world. Now, if she's not going to have fruits from anyone in the world, so we learned before that the husband can annul a vow like that. If she says she's not going to have fruits from anyone, so then Nidri ine nefesh will be afala. Then why are you telling me that she can't, that the husband can only annul his part? This would be a regular ine nefesh, and he should be able to annul the entire vow if it's referring to. Okay, so what we're asking now is Rav is asking Rav Nachman, how could you translate the previous Mishnah when it says that I'm not going to have benefit from creations? The husband can't annul it. It's because the husband was not included. The husband's not included in a vow like that. then it doesn't make sense the next Mishnah where it says that she's separated from all Jews. The husband's not included, then first pshat in the Ran, then why does the husband have to annul it? Second pshat in the Ran is, why can't the husband annul the whole vow? Because it's in nefesh. Either way you go, Rav asks a question. The Gemara says, really, I could say to you, Shani Hacha, the Mucha Milsa, over here, it's obvious over here that she's including the husband. Normally, a vow would not include the husband. This is Rav Nachman's answer. When you take a vow that I'm not going to have benefit from the whole world, she's excluding her husband. She means everyone outside of my husband. That's what she would have meant. Again, because when it comes to vows, we're looking at the usage of the language. We're not looking at how it is in the dictionary and all of that. Like, what would someone have meant when they said that? That's the Lashon B'nai Adam. What would be the street usage of this? If she says that I'm not having benefit from anyone in the world, she means everyone else other than my husband. That would be the normal case. However,
what's the point of all this if you try to apply it to language now?
if it's only relevant, yeah, well, what the Gemara is teaching us is how to apply it to the language. We would have to study what people would mean now based on what we understand from the past. And then we have this Gemara which said, then we have this other Mishnah which says that I'm separated from all Jews. So that must mean that she's separated in a way of something that she would have been permitted for. And it must mean that it's referring to her husband because she's talking about, it must mean that she's referring to relations. And so therefore the husband has to annul his part. That's what that would be. In other words, that statement has to tell me that it's referring to relations. Question is, why does it have to say that? Maybe it could mean referring to fruits. They are. She took a vow that she doesn't want to have benefit from him, which that she's allowed to do. Yeah, I'm not sure how it plays out, that it can only mean relations and not the fruits. And one thing is for sure, the vow has to be including something that was permitted. She can't take a vow on something that was always prohibited, or that, not that she can't, but that obviously she didn't mean that. Okay. Now the Mishnah says, she's allowed to take from, she's not supposed to have benefit from anyone in the world, but nevertheless, she's still allowed to take from what's given to the poor. Leket, which is the stalks of grain that fall, the shikha, the bundles that were left in the field, and the payah is the corner of the fields. The Gemara asks, it doesn't say that she can take from the tithe that's given to the poor in the Shemitah cycle. Year 1 and 2, the second tithe is separated and it goes to Jerusalem. You take it to Jerusalem, you eat it there. It's called Meiser Sheni. In year 3, and then again in year 6, instead of taking it to Jerusalem, you give it to the poor. It's called Meiser Ani. So there's always a first tithe that's given to the Levi. The second tithe is taken to Jerusalem, but that depends on which year it is. So 1 and 2, it goes to Jerusalem. 4 and 5, it goes to Jerusalem. And year 3 and 6, it's given to the poor. Now, if it's given to the poor, she took a vow that she's not having benefit from anyone in the world. She happens to be poor. She wants to be able to take from this. Is it considered that she's taking it from Hefker, she's not having benefit from anyone? Or is it considered that someone's giving it to her and she is having benefit? So our Mishnah doesn't say that she can take that second tithe. She can't take the second tithe, probably because that would be considered that she's having benefit from someone. It's a gift for her, and that's being given. But if you would say that Meiser Ani she can also take, that the tithe to the poor, then that would mean that she's not being given it, she's acquiring it from, it's like ownerless. It's left, it's forsaken, and she can take it from what was made hefker. It's not really hefker, but what was left. So we start off saying the Mishnah doesn't mention Maiserani. That means because Maiserani would have been a gift. It says Vatanya bebraisa, but we have a braisa of Maiserani that she can take from the Maiserani, even though she took a vow that she's not.
Excuse me, why is it not hefker, the pay of the corners?
The pay actually we do consider it hefker.
Oh, okay.
And it's hefker for the poor. Like the poor can come and take, but it's not given from this individual to the poor. The poor comes along and takes it. It says tazoid, it's left.
Right.
So what about the meiser? Is the meiser also left, or is the meiser given? So we have a contradiction. Rabbi Yosef like kasha. Rabbi Yosef says that there's no question. Ha Rabbi Eliezer, ha Rabbanan. There's a machlekes how this works. And the Mishnah would be, see which one is which, but one of them would be Rabbi Eliezer and one of them would be the Rabbanan. Let's see. The Tanana was taught in the Mishnah. Rabbi Eliezer Reimer, ein adam tzarech lekri shem shel meiser ani shel demai. Demai is when you have produce that you get from an amaretz, and you're not sure if the amaretz is a ignoramus. You're not sure if he did what he was supposed to with the tithes, with the trumas and the tithes. Well, we assume that the truma was actually taken because the truma is very strict. If you eat produce without taking truma, I think the prohibition was karas or misbidei shemayim, so it was very strict if you didn't take the truma. So we assume truma he took care of, and also the truma is very easy to resolve because you just take even the smallest amount exempts it. We see he probably did that, but the meiser is 1/10. That's a big deal. So what do you do now? If you have meiser sheni, if you have produce of the mai, so you have to separate your own meiser. What do you do with that meiser? Well, you separate it, but you don't have to give it to the Levi because we don't know if it was already given. So the rule of Hamitzi Mechaver al Haraya applies. If you want your meiser, prove it that it was never given. And since no one can prove it, so it stays by him and he can eat it. He has to separate it, but then he can eat it. Okay. The truma, of course.
Excuse me, who's asking for the meiser?
Any Levi that's going to show up
Any Levi.
is going to, but he doesn't have to give it to him because the Levi would have to prove that it was never given yet, which he can't do. What about Meiser Ani? So Meiser Ani has another way out. Meiser Ani also separate, but how do you know that it wasn't given yet? So you just keep it. But the truth is that the person could really make everything that he owns ownerless. And then he says, hey, I'm an ani, and then take everything back, including the Meiser Ani. But he does not necessarily does he have to do that, because you see, anything that has sanctity in it he can't eat. The Meiser doesn't have sanctity, not the regular Meiser and not the Meiser Ani. There's no sanctity in it. It's not like Truma. So when he separates the Meiser that goes to the Levi, that doesn't have sanctity. So he can theoretically can eat it. The only thing is that there is one part of that needs to be separated by the Levi that needs to be given to the Kohen. It's called Trumas Meiser. So the only part that he really needs to get rid of would be the Trumas Meiser. That's the only part that he can't eat. We're talking about Demai. Okay. So Rabbi Eliezer, Aimer Ein Adam Tzarech Lekes Shem Al Meiser Ani Shel Demai. You don't even have to designate the Meiser Ani Shel Demai. You don't even have to designate it. The Chachamim Aimrim Some say that you do have to designate it. You have to call it the name. This is Meiser Ani. But then you don't have to separate it. You don't have to remove it and take it out because you're just going to eat it. My love, is it not? That the one that considers the Meiser Ani in the produce, forbidding the produce. The word tevel means produce that wasn't fixed. If you don't take the truma, then your produce is not fixed. It can't be eaten. It's called tevel. If you don't take the meiser, it's called tevel. If you don't take the Meiser Sheni, it's still called Tevel. But if you don't take the Meiser Ani, over here there's a machlekes says it's still called Tevel. Is it called Tevel? That means that it's unedible. You can't eat anything here until it's fixed. It must be that the Gemara here is using the word Sveike Tevel, but really it means even Vadai, even if it's definite. One opinion would hold Sveike Tevel. What would that mean? Kasavar, he holds Isli Tevasana. Do I put this under the category of the things, the gifts that need to be given? If I put it under that category of the gifts that need to be given, so then that means I have to give it. If I have to give it, then I have the rights of choosing who I'm giving it to. And that's sort of a benefit that I have of who I can choose to give it to is called Tevasana. Now, if Tevasana is actually exists, that I actually have a substantive value that I can choose who I'm giving it to.
Only for a friends from Morocco. Maybe learning English.
So then they can pronounce it however. So then there would be a problem of me giving it to someone that can't have benefit. She doesn't want to have benefit from anyone in the world. If Meiser Ani goes under the category of the other gifts that are given, then it goes under the category of Tevasana. If it's Tevasana, then that means someone is giving her that benefit that he had of that choice of who he's giving it to. And then they're actually the recipient of that benefit. And then that would be a problem because they took a vow that they're not going to have benefit from it. So this machlekes about if it's toivel, if it makes the produce tevel, is really a machlekes about if there's any. It also comes out from that is a machlekes that if there's toivasana, if there's that benefit of discretion of who you're giving it to. Okay.
So the only out from that would be to make it hefker, right? Otherwise, you have to choose someone.
Right. And if you would make it hefker, right?
You have to pick a lady.
Regular mice would be a levy, and here we're discussing Meiser Ani.
Still, you have to pick someone.
You have to
and
pick
therefore
someone.
Make it hefker.
Right. When you pick someone, that person is getting that benefit that you had of who you're choosing. So it would go like this. If you have to call it a name, which is the Chachamim, then they would follow our Mishnah that says that she's not allowed to get Meiser Ani. You don't have to call it a name, which is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. It says you don't have to designate it, call it a name and designate it. That's the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. That's the opinion of the Brisa that says that she is allowed to get the Meiser Ani, even though she took a vow she's not going to have benefit from anyone in the world. This is not considered benefit from anyone in the world. Okay. Yeah, the Ran explains that it's based on a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Le'yechallu es kodshei b'nei Yisrael es asher yarimu." You should not profane the holies of the Jewish people that they will give. And what it means is that they will give is telling us that there's considered that they have the rights of who to choose to give it for. But that would also tell me lo yechalel. That means that whatever is remaining is considered tevel. So it's basically dependent one on another. If it's something that would create tevel, then that would also have the tevasana gifts. Laman da'amar eina kayer shem, one that says that you don't call it a name, that's Rabbi Eliezer's view. It's fake eina tevel. Then if it's a doubt, it doesn't make it tevel. We said that the doubt part doesn't have to be. That happened to be the case that it's demai. Even if it's a vadai, if it's remaining in there, you're still allowed to start eating without separating it. If it doesn't create, if it doesn't prohibit the produce from being eaten, then it's not. There's no tevasana. There's no benefit of that discretion of who you're giving it to, and and then she should be allowed to have benefit from it, even though she took a vow that she's not having benefit from anyone in the world. But this is not considered from anyone in the world. This is just considered forsaken. Amalei Abaya. Abaya says, Abaya is telling Rava, Abaya is telling Rabbi Yosef. This was answered by Rabbi Yosef, and Abaya is the student of Rabbi Yosef. So Abaya says, what you're saying is not necessarily accurate, because I have another way of explaining that. It goes like this. Kuli Alma, really everyone holds Sveke Toivel. Really, the produce is prohibited until it's removed, until the Maisrani is, until that tithe that's given to the poor is removed. So what's the machlaikas Rebbe Lezer and the Rabbanon? But one says you can start eating it, and one says you have to designate it. Rebbe Lezer, Rabbanon b'hakim again. The machlaikas goes like this. Rebbe Lezer savalei nechshto amei aretz al Maisrani. Rebbe Lezer, it's actually a much more fundamental machlaikas. Rebbe Lezer says that the whole question about an amaretz, did he separate the tithes? Did he not separate? That question never applied to the Meiser Ani, to the poor, to the tithe that goes to the poor. Why? Just like it doesn't apply to Truma, because Truma we know that they take anyway, because it's so easy to take Truma. You take the smallest amount, is Peteris Esakri. It exempts everything. Really, you're supposed to give 2%, but even if you give less than 2%, it still works. So you can give the smallest amount. So we assume it's so easy to do that they did it. So when it comes to Maiserani, even the ilamaf genichse v'haviani v'shakalehu, let's say that since for Maiserani he has a way out, all he has to do is say, all my produce is ownerless. All my possessions are ownerless. That makes him into the status of a poor man now. Then he's a poor man. He's allowed to take the poor man's tithe. He just takes it back. So it just takes a second to resolve the Maiserani. So we don't have a problem with the Maiserani, with the tithe that goes to the poor when it comes to the Amaretz, because he probably did the trick to get out of it.
The Amaris would know to do this trick.
That's exactly
That's what I was thinking too.
That's what I was saying. That's a smart.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe the Amaretz doesn't really mean ignoramus. Maybe the Amaretz means a person of the earth that maybe doesn't want to spend too much. Maybe that's what it means.
No, a street person.
Yeah.
We defined Amaretz in this regard. And the discussion about what was the name of the group that were particularly careful about Chaver?
Yeah.
We got a definition of Amaretz there, didn't we?
Oh, I think you suggested that maybe the Amaretz is actually like a tribe of some sort of cult that they.
I thought it was just somebody who was not familiar.
Uh-huh.
Didn't we
But they didn't
discuss it
have,
there?
the Amaretz would be the opposite of the Chaver, that he doesn't know
Right.
about Tara.
Right.
And here we're saying that he doesn't also separate his the tithes.
I had a similar example with the vows that the person they could
Oh, did they really know that?
it was the kind of a loophole that it must be like a learned person in order to
Right.
know.
Right. It's not a hayom yom about that when something is relevant to you, you'll come up with all of the. Remember something like that?
Yes.
You come up, even a woman expression. That's not politically correct, but even a woman would be able to come up with these complicated logic to be able to save herself from some. Right? It's based on a Gemara somewhere.
That's like human.
Right. You
context.
figure things out when it's necessary.
If you're
Right.
a smoker and somebody talks about smokers, like you'll be the first to defend them.
Okay, so that would be the view of Rabbi Eliezer. In other words, it has nothing to do with Tevasana. Everyone really holds that there is a problem of plevasana. So why does Rabbi Eliezer say that there is a problem that it makes it tevel, which means that it's plevasana as well? So why does Rabbi Eliezer say that you don't have to call it a name? Because they took it already. How'd they take it already? They didn't actually separate it. They just made themselves into poor people by making everything ownerless, and then they don't have to give it. Rabbanan Sabri, the Chachamim say, a person would not make all his possessions ownerless. The mirtas, he should be afraid. Maybe someone is going to, in that moment of making it ownerless, someone is going to grab it. And so Hilkach Nechshedu. That's why the Amaretz would never have done that. If the Amaretz never would have done it, then he probably didn't take it either. He didn't take it either, then you have to separate it now. So the Machlekes, Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanan, is not about if it's toivel, if it's mitavel, if it makes your produce prohibited. Machlekes, Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanan is if an Amaretz would do the trick to get out of giving it. That's Abaya's question on Rabbi Yosef that just gave us an answer. Basically gave us an answer to resolve the contradiction between the Mishnah and the Brisa regarding Maiserani. If the woman took the vow that she's not going to have benefit from anyone in the world if she's allowed to get Maiserani, that's a contradiction. The Mishnah and the Brisa, Rabbi Yosef gave us an answer to that. He said that it's not really a contradiction. It's a machlekes. Rabbi Abaya says that machlekes has nothing to do with us.
The thing is, if you don't know the law, you probably don't know the loophole.
So it turns out that it could be that they figured out the loopholes anyway. They have the
talk.
Rava Amar. So someone we were going somewhere on Shabbos. They saw a bacher, and it's like hiding something. So what are you hiding? So it was a skateboard. Skateboard. I guess some people use the skateboard on Shabbos, a scooter, a skateboard. But I said no, you can't use a skateboard. So he said, "Oh, I'm not allowed to." I thought I'm allowed. But I didn't follow up because so why were you hiding it? You know, that would be obvious. The obvious follow. You know, like if you thought you're allowed.
would think it wasn't allowed.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Rava Amar. Rava says, "Han b'maiser ani hamischalik b'teicha bayis t'ksiva bein asina v'nasat levi v'lager v'gaimer v'shemachi yasa leila sinai kam maiser ani mischalik b'teicha granas given t'ksiva be'vinach b'shrecha l'shrei leila sinai." There's a contradiction in the psukim when it comes to giving the gifts to the poor. One place says you should give it. The other place says you should leave it. So what are you doing? Are you giving it or are you leaving it? Says it depends. If you took it into the house, then you have to give it. If you're leaving it in the field, then you're leaving it in the field. So if you're leaving it in the field, then it's considered that you're not getting benefit from anyone in the world. But if you took it into the house and you're being given it, so then there's tevasana, and she took a vow that she's not having benefit from anyone in the world. She won't be allowed to get the Maisrani from the house, but she would be allowed to get it from the field. There's two versions over here in the Ran. When are you getting it from the field? Are you getting it in the winter, the summer? It says it's whatever the case is. Okay. Yeah, this was based on when the Gemara says that there's a contradiction. One place says you give it, one place says you leave it. The Gemara answers, there's no question. Here it's in the winter, here it's in the summer. So he explains. In the summer, you leave it there. But when the winter comes, then you take it into the house. Okay. Some explain, the Ran says, some explain the opposite, that in the winter, you take it into the house, like we said. But what's left over after the winter, in the summer, then that goes to the granary. So it would be the summer first or the summer second. That would be the difference. Okay. Yeah, it's probably grain because usually it's grain. Okay, now we said that kayanim leviim naninli yitlu. If she prohibits kayanim and leviim from having benefits from her, so they can still take it. They can still take the truma, whatever she has to, that there's yitlu al karchai. They take it against the will. If she says these kayanim, these leviim, then they can't take it. It's only if she says any kayanim can't take it that they're allowed to take it. If she says any kayanim cannot have benefit from me, then they can take it anyway. But if she says specific ones, then only those are prohibited, and other ones would take the gifts.
In that first one, it wouldn't take effect because she's supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the Gemara starts off like this: when the kayanim takes it, are they being given it, or is it being left for them? Is there a taivasana? Is the benefit of that gift, is that receiving something from the individual that's giving it? Or do we say that no, they were given it from heaven, and there's no, the person that gives it to them is just handing it out, but he doesn't have any benefit. You know, give one kid in the class to hand out the cookies to everyone else. Everyone's getting it. It's not like his benefit. He doesn't have any, right? He's giving to everyone equally or whatever. So there's no real benefit. So maybe when the kayanim get their things, there's no benefit from the person that's giving it to them. They're just passing it out. So if the kayanim are allowed to take the produce, even though she took a vow, then that would mean Alma, that must mean is that benefit that a person gets from deciding who to give it to is not considered a real benefit. And that's why the kayanim are allowed to take it, even though there was a vow here that they're not giving benefit to any kayanim. Kayanim are allowed to take it, and it's not considered getting a benefit from this person. Hey, Maseifa, let's go further. Kayanim elu, it says these kayanim, leviim elu, these leviim, nananly from having benefit from me, that means they're prohibited from benefit. Yitlu acherim, then they're not allowed. Other people have to take it. So, avalahani loy, but these kayanim that they specifically said, the Cohen family, the Levi family, this specific, last name or whatever, are not allowed. Alma tevasana mammon, that means that they would be getting benefit. So we're asking over here, that benefit of discretion, that choice of who you can give it to, is that a real benefit? We have a contradiction in the Mishnah. Amar Rav Aisha like Kash, Rav Aisha says it's not a problem. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda. The first part of the Mishnah would be Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda that says that it is considered a benefit. The second part of the Mishnah says that it's not considered a benefit. The second part of the Mishnah that says that it is considered a benefit, that would be the opinion of Rabbi. As we're going to see. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Hagoynef tivlei shel chaveira v'achol. Someone stole someone else's produce, but it wasn't tithed, it was tevel, and he ate it. Now it comes to paying back. He says, look, I'm only paying the part that you would have been able to eat. The other part belonged to the kohen. I'm not paying that. So the rule is, Shalom leidemei tivlei. He has to pay everything. No.
Then why would she get the coin part for free?
Oh, well, he's the claim of the person that says you stole from me. The other guy says, well, that part that would have belonged to the Kohen, I never stole that from you because that didn't belong to you anyway. So the guy can't claim it. The only thing is, he can claim the Taivasana. Well, I could have given that to whoever I wanted. So there is a value to that to me. Now, he can't claim everything, but at least he can claim the Taivasana value. So he says he has to pay everything. Everything means including the Taivasana. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, this is the son of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda says, that's Rabbi Yehuda bar Rabbi Loi, student of Rabbi Kiva. He says, "Eina mishalim el d'mei chulin shva." He only has to pay the d'mei chulin. My lav b'hakam miflagi. It must be this is the machlekes. That the Rebbe said Tevasana mam, and Rebbe says that the Tevasana has a value. That I could choose who I want to give that to. And Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda said Tevasana mam. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says that no, that's not considered a value. That choice isn't considered a value, and I don't have to pay for it. The Ganab says.
Did he steal the mitzvah in a way?
That's a good question, because when someone takes a mitzvah, there's a fine that was imposed. Remember when someone took someone else's bracha, had to give 10 coins. Remember that? It was Gemara brachas or something. Yeah, but this would be the see that? You got a trophy.
Yeah, you saw, you got a trophy?
Thank you.
Maybe the reason why we're not discussing that is because this is like a strict choshen mishpat question. What does he have to pay? That's not the fine that would come in someone taking someone else's mitzvah. Yeah. The Gemara says the kuli alma tevis and ein mammon. Really, everyone holds that there is no value to that benefit of discretion. Here we have a machlekes about gifts that were not elevated, that were not separated yet. Mali herma, mali lai herma. Okay, so just 1 second. Gemara is like very quick over here. Gemara thinks right away. The Gemara says that when you haven't separated the gifts, how do you view that? Do you view that as the chulin, or do you view that as already been separated? So that would be the machlekes here. If the ganav has to pay, the thief, does he have to pay for the truma? The truma was never separated yet. He says, look, someone steals money that the tax wasn't separated yet. So the guy says, give me back my money. So he says, no, I'm only giving you back the part that's the net part, not the gross, because the tax part isn't yours anyway. The government wants it, let them ask me for it.
So the thief has to pay income tax.
What is that? Okay. So we say that how do you view matana shlei hormu? Yeah. Has to pay double. Right. However, that fine of paying double, regular standing, if it would be an animal 4 or 5 times, but that's only in Israel when we had smicha. Nowadays, you just pay back because of the knesses we can't do anymore. We can't do those fines. So we just do exact restitution. Yeah. Well, the question is, how do you view the tithes and the truma that's still there? Do you view it as something separated because it's supposed to be separated, or do you view it as part of it and then he has to pay that back? So that's what the Gemara says. But then it says, but if you tell me that benefit is nothing, mali hormu, mali lai hormu, then what's the difference if it's elevated, if it's separated or not? If it's not separate, what's the difference? The fact that it's mixed into this, he doesn't get anything from it. He has no value to it because even who he gives it to is not considered that's a value of a benefit of discretion that he can choose who to give it to. That doesn't even have a value. It's just mixed in. But so what that it's mixed in? It wasn't his, and it's not going to even considered value. Gemara now says, "Elahacha time of the Rebbe." What's the reason for Rebbe is konsur rabbanan laganav kehechid le'legnan. This is probably what you were thinking. Rebbe's view is that we're not doing any favors to the thief. He stole, pay it back. You want to? Don't come to us with claims. You're guilty and pay everything. Say no. You only have to pay the part that this wasn't an excused something. This was a crime. So pay it all. Okay. This is a very interesting argument. Yossi Bar Yehuda says, no. Why was that balabayas leaving his tevel there and not separating it right away? You didn't separate it right away. We're not helping you out. He also had a crime. He didn't separate it right away. Okay, one is an action and one is an inaction. So it's hard to argue this argument, but when you try, I guess when you're extracting money from someone else, that argument comes in. Rava says, Shani Truma. Even the Ka'asul Misraelayu Shabi Afar Ba'alma. Rava has a great shot in the Mishnah. If she says, right, it's a he or a she, it doesn't matter, but we're talking about someone took a vow that Kayanim cannot have benefit from them. Any Kayanim in the world. That means that the gifts that they have for the Kayanim can't take. Kayanim can't take. So who owns it? No one owns it. Yisrael can't take it. Kayan can't take it. It's basically Hefker. Oh, it's Hefker. Then the Kayanim can take it.
Whoa.
So because she said that no one can take it, that makes it Hefker, and then the Kayanim can come and take it.
That's because there's no status of like prohibited.
Right. The question is that if it's really becoming Hefker, then why does it only go to the Kayanim? Oh, it must be because the Truma doesn't lose its sanctity when it becomes Hefker. That's what's happening. What about the Meiser? This only answers Truma. Meiser should lose its status.
But what it meant be like a vow.
Yeah, but there's a way of getting around it.
There's no Meiser because she didn't make the profit. She didn't give all the efforts, so you only give Meiser on the profit.
No, the profit has to do with she grew, or he or she grew grain.
You erased that.
And now
Yeah.
now,
If she kept it, she owed.
Doubling down, don't double down.
Yeah,
He would owe.
but
But
what
if
happened?
she said.
No, she says,
it's
she
not-
says that she takes a vow. No Kayanim and Levium can have any benefit. So the Kayanim and Levium are now prohibited to enjoy whatever she's supposed to be given. Okay, then if she separates her Truma and Meiser to have the rest, no one is allowed to eat that. And so if no one can eat it, then it's Hefker, and then the Kayanim and Levium can come and take it. But if she says that this family of Kayanim and this family of Levium can't eat it, so she didn't make it Hefker. There's still other Kayanim that can come and eat it. So therefore, that vow actually does take effect. And those Kayanim that she vowed cannot eat it, and it's only the other ones that can eat it. Yeah.
But
Okay.
That's it?
It doesn't take it right. It doesn't. Well, it doesn't take effect. Yeah. That's how it plays out. Right.
If her husband
You were
and
saying that it doesn't take effect because she's doing something that's not allowed. But that's not really what's happening. It's not because it's a prohibition. She's violating the rule. Really, it doesn't take effect just because if no one can have benefit, but de facto ownerless.
Orthodox
If her
Rabbanim
husband
never approved it in the Jewish
knows
kids.
the